Nice, you're here. Welcome to another Sigma Spirit video. Video is for Sigma males. This is Alex from Sigma Spirit. I want to ask you a question which is going to guide our video today. Do you have a strong personality or do you have strong character? Before we discuss that, I want to say one thing. I don't know how the world is going to evolve in the next 5 years, 5 months, whatever. It's changing a lot. For now, we're happy to be on YouTube. We're happy to call this place home, but we're not sure what kind of content is going to be best suited for which platform. So we're building a website, thesigmaspirit.com. You can join the mailing list on the website, thesigmaspirit.com. That way we can always get in touch with you, reach you, be able to communicate with you, and keep you up to date about where we are. We're also creating an Instagram at thesigmaspirit. And you can always email us if you have any questions, you want to see us make a video, just email us at thesigmaspirit@gmail.com. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you enjoy this content. So, without further ado, let's talk about personality versus character. I took some notes here the other day after a conversation with a friend, and this friend had just read the book Quiet. It's a book about introverts, and this is how he described the book to me, or at least one part of the book. He said, in the past, people had character. They had things that they did, and that determined their worth in society. So in small tribes, small villages, you had, let's say, Johnny the blacksmith. Johnny the blacksmith always delivered the best gear. He always delivered the best swords, the best hammers. And he always showed up to work at 5 in the morning, and he finished work at 5 in the evening. And you could trust him, you could rely on him. And this was important in small tribes, small communities. But now, in the modern world, we've developed personality. And in this discussion with my friend, he said basically, personality is something we've developed only recently, in the last century or so, because we wanted to fit into workplaces and different social structures and things like that. So this really got me thinking about who we are as men, who we are as humans in 2020, and how we just don't see that much character nowadays. We're obsessed with people's personalities. We're obsessed with our own personalities. I hear people all the time like, how do I improve this part of my personality? And I think we're focused on the wrong things if we're focused so much on personality and not character. And I have a confession to make. The reason why I can tell you about character, things like character integrity, is because in the past, I've had very low character and low integrity. So I'm not saying that I'm an expert on character or an expert on integrity, but I am someone who has gone from being very low character, low integrity, into the person I am today. And when you don't have high integrity, you don't have these strong character traits, these principles that guide you, there's a lot of misalignment in who you are. And it can create a lot of issues within you mentally and emotionally. So I want you to think of people today, people we admire today. Think about it right now. Most of these people, maybe not you because you're a Sigma male watching this channel, and you might think for yourself, you might have your own values, you've evolved, you've transformed. But most people today, who do they admire? They admire people based entirely on having personalities. A lot of these people today that we admire as a collective humanity are people with personalities that are weird, quirky, a lot of personality flaws. We admire people who are depressed and have some anxiety or social disorder. And I think this is very dangerous. On the other end of the spectrum, we admire people with larger than life personalities. We admire narcissists. We admire sociopaths. We don't understand that there's certain personality traits that are gigantic red flags. So, without being too political, and you should know by watching this channel that I think politics is a gigantic facade, and that most of what we see as fair political issues is really just a theatrical display. So you know that I'm not being right or left here, but I want you to think of someone like Donald Trump's personality. Huge personality, has an enormous personality behind him, does wild things, does crazy things. Lots of celebrities nowadays, lots of people that we admire, people that we look up to. When was the last time we talked about Kanye West's music instead of the things that he's doing, like these crazy personality things? I personally love Kanye West. I think he is one of the greatest musicians to come in the 21st century. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is probably one of my favorite albums of all time. So, but what do we hear nowadays? We just hear people talking about his personality instead of his character. His character created that album, and yet all we focus on is personality. Focusing on personality is what has created this celebrity worship. Without reality TV, or without personality worship, we wouldn't have things like reality TV. On the flip side, character. To think of people with high character, a lot of us are going to have to think of fictional characters. We're going to have to think of people from a long time ago. We're going to have to think of certain people in historic times, like I think of Leonidas, King Leonidas, in the movie 300. We don't watch 300. Men don't watch 300 and think, that is a guy I admire, because he has such a cool personality. He's so funny. He's so agreeable. Like, he has these quirky things to his personality. He's odd, you know? No, we don't talk like that about someone like King Leonidas. As Sigma males, we look at King Leonidas and we look almost entirely at his principles and his character. A man like that taking a stand against what he deems as evil and dangerous to his own society creates a lot of respect and admiration. That's why we watch someone like King Leonidas with a lot of awe. We're awe-inspired by someone like that because they took a stand. They did something out of principle. And I think you just don't see that often today. And you really have to look for it, because the news almost entirely focuses on people's personalities and not so much on principles and things that people do out of character traits. So, my experience with low character, like I said before, I come to you and talk about character versus personality because I came from a place of low integrity. I came from a place of doing things when no one wasn't watching that I would be ashamed to admit on camera. Bad habits, vices, laziness. From age 18 to 25, I was probably one of the most lazy people, most entitled person I know. And I don't mean to exaggerate, that's true. I barely went to class when I was in college. I barely graduated. And I had a whole host of things that I did based on low integrity. And I'm happy I did, because I got to see what low integrity looks like. And more importantly, I got to see what it felt like. And moving into a place of having higher character, more principles-based being, and a higher integrity has allowed me to feel what it feels like to live in alignment with your integrity. So, why is our focus on personality just as dangerous as having low character? I think because when you focus on personality and not character, you start to idolize things in people that are the wrong thing to focus on. I thought of this recently. Sometimes we think that superficial is external world, the looks, etc., body, face, and that the deep internal world is something like personality. But I would go and say that we should analyze that a little more. We should look deeper at that. And I think that we should lump in personality and looks into the external superficial. And that we should look at deep character traits, principles, and integrity as who you really are on the inside. Without that, I think that we're living inauthentically. We're not living honestly, because a personality is just a mask. A personality is a mask that you wear. One of the hardest things about starting a YouTube channel, getting on camera, is that you think that you have to develop a personality. Every time I record a video, there's a little voice in my head that says, oh, okay, well, make sure you have that quirky side of you, and you do this thing with your face because people like that, and you talk in a certain way. But it's not true, because most of you are watching this based on the content I'm talking about, my character, how I speak, my principles, the values this channel promotes. And while some of us might watch channels based on personality, and that's okay, having a personality is not bad, but relying on entirely a personality will always drive people who are evolved, who are on some level awakened. It will always drive them a little crazy. You'll see this kind of person on TV. They're just like a shell of a person. You know that they don't have something underneath them. They are just a personality. And we know on some level that that's not human. That's not a real human. So I'm afraid of the push that society is making towards having enjoyable, safe personalities that make other people feel safe and agreeable and all this. I think it's dangerous because we're losing sight of principles. And when I think of my own life in the last couple years, I can think of a couple examples of people who would really fit in this quiet book. Men of character, humans of principle. These sort of quiet people that we admire, that we respect out of what they do. And last month, I went to a little outdoor beer garden. And I met these guys, and they were very quiet professionals, but you could tell that they had this sort of swagger and this confidence. And as a Sigma male, I'm always watching the world. I can always see the world. I can always see who's been through something. I can see who's a man of character. I can see who's not. I can see who's just living through personality. I can see who's insecure. I can see who's secure. And this is part of being a Sigma male, part of being an empath, part of just being an intuitive person. And these guys had all these different, not red flags, but they had all these signs that they were some dudes. They were some men, some real men of character. And I sat down with them. Before I went up to them and I was like, hey, where are you guys from? And we were just chatting. And they invited me over to have drinks. And we were sitting there talking. And I asked, hey, are you guys in the military? And they said, yeah, we're in the military. Very quiet. And I said, what branch? Oh, we're in the Navy. And when they said Navy, I understood that these were, most probably, they were members of the Navy SEALs. And yet they were very quiet. And when we think of people we respect, politics aside, your belief about war aside, you know that someone like a Navy SEAL has been through serious training. They've been through character divining training. Much of the training they go through is to develop that integrity. It's not just physical training. It's not just training to do X, Y, and Z on a mission. It's deep internal character, principle, value, integrity training. And so we sat there for a while, and I didn't dig too much because I knew that they were Navy SEALs and they were very quiet. They didn't have to talk about anything, and they were cool. They were cool to be around, not because they told funny jokes or because they had some interesting personality quirks, but because as a man, I respected being around other men who had character. I knew that if something happened, I felt safe. I felt safe to be around other men who could also protect me and I could protect them. And I heard something recently about why men test each other. Why do men dog each other? Why do they test each other? Why do they make fun of each other? Why are men brutal to each other? Why are men bullies to one another in a supportive way? I'm not talking about group bullying, people who are lesser confident than you or someone you don't know, but I'm talking about within social circles, men bully one another. And it's because they want to see what you're made of. Your friends dog you because they want to see what you're made of. They want to see your character. They want to test if you're going to be there for them when things go wrong. Another example of a quiet character is Fedor Emelianenko, classic MMA fighter from the early 2000s, huge hero of mine. But if you look at the MMA fighters of today and you look back on Fedor Emelianenko, there's a huge difference. Fedor Emelianenko rose to the top of MMA barely speaking a word to his opponents, about the sport. He's very stoic, he's very calm, he's very quiet, but you can tell he has a deep character, deep values. You know, he's done the training. You know, he's seen the end of his limits. He's reached his potential. And you know that that's someone of high character, high integrity. You know he's a man, and he's said this before, he's a man who lived to fight so that he could feed his family. He said that he once knew poverty. He knew how he couldn't feed his family. And every time he stepped in the arena, into the ring, he saw the man in front of him as someone who would take away his family's livelihood. And that right there is not personality. That's deep character. That's deep principle. That's a burning desire. And I think that's so admirable. Another example, when we think about celebrities who are very popular, many of them have wild personalities, talking a lot, tweeting a lot. And then you have someone like DayLewis. Many people don't even know who DayLewis is, and he's one of the most spectacular actors of our time. But he lives a life of quiet introversion, sort of a recluse, and he's a method actor. So when he takes a part, he becomes that part. I think there was a picture of him a while back where he was walking around LA or something, or New York, dressed and acting the part of Abraham Lincoln, because he played Lincoln, who was also a Sigma male. And you'll see, actually, in his movies, this just occurred to me right now, that most of his roles are Sigma males. The guy in There Will Be Blood, very much a Sigma male. Very much a sociopath in the movie. He's a little bit crazy, but he's definitely a Sigma male on some level. Lives for himself, self-reliant, independent, hard driving, wants to achieve, confident, very mysterious, very confident, very much a deep, interesting character. And I think that DayLewis is really that kind of quiet person. And people who really love him aren't in love with him because of his personality, because of his funny tweets, because of his social media videos about race or coronavirus. He doesn't do any of that. He just does what he's good at. He just has a strong character. So my quick advice to you, if you want to develop character instead of personality, you need to step back. You need to look at yourself, who you are. Number one, don't strive to have personality. Strive to have character. Don't worry about if you have personality showing. You need to think about what people really admire, what people really look up to, what people respect, and even what women and other men are attracted to. Most of the time, it's not personality, it's character. This has been a huge shift in my life, especially in dating, trying to have this mask of a personality when really, most of the time, the women I'm with just want me to act like a leader. I don't need to put on some personality. Just have the character of someone who's a leader. Number 2, take stock of your personality. Look at yourself. Where are you weak? Where did this personality come from? Meditate on this. Who are you? What sort of thing have you constructed to fit in? Are you agreeable? Most likely you are agreeable, because today's man has needed to become more agreeable to fit in. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we should be able to use it and disregard it when we don't need it, if we don't need it. But think about your personality. Who are you? Where did it come from? What helps you? What doesn't help you? Number 3, when was the last time you did something of enormous character, spirit, or integrity? And it's okay to think small here. It doesn't have to be huge. You didn't have to stand in front of a tank in Tiananmen Square or whatever that was in China. It's not thinking about huge acts of character or principle, but something small. Did you stand up for yourself? Did you say no when it was a lot easier to just say yes? Did you decide to be a leader? And if you can't think of something, think about the time you had the option to do something of high character and you chose not to. And just think about it, because awareness is really important. Some of you listening to this might think, I've never thought about human beings in this way. And now that you've seen this, it's easier for you to think about life like this. And once you have awareness, you'll start to move in that direction. Number 4, now take stock of your character. What do you stand for? What are your principles? What are your boundaries? What do you accept? What do you deny? What would you die for? That's a big one. Would you die to help someone? If someone fell on the train tracks, would you jump in to save them? Would you step in front of someone who's being shot? Would you break up a fight? Would you run into a burning building? Would you dedicate your life to helping others? Think about these things. I'm not saying you have to go do them to be a man of character, but just think about what you stand for, what you believe in. What things do you do on a daily basis that align your integrity, that build your integrity? Are you following through on them? And these are all questions I have to ask myself. I am not perfect. And the last one, once you develop this sense of character and you start disregarding personality, which you'll actually find creates a more magnetic personality, but that's a topic for another video. Once you start to develop this character, you'll notice people will test you more. People will challenge you because they want to know, damn, is this guy the real deal? Is this guy the real man of character he shows himself to be? Or is he just boring and has no personality? So prepare to be tested, prepare to be challenged. And this is something that I've noticed in my own life. Again, talking about dating. When I was younger, I used to try to have a strong personality. I was sarcastic. I was abrasive. I tried to get reactions from people. And now, as I focus more on character in just being rather than doing, I find in social situations, not just dating, people will challenge me. People will want to know if I'm the real deal. Some people will accuse me of things. Some people will be cold to me. Some people will just dig into me with questions. Some girls on dates will be really standoffish at first because they want to see if you're really a man of character. And all people are testing you at all times. But when we rely on personality, we sort of fail the test. So that's my advice for you. Good luck on your journey. If you have any questions about character, personality, ask them in the comments. This is a deep topic, one of the most important topics, I think, in 2020, and where we go as humans from here, and especially where masculinity goes from here. So, thanks for watching. I'm out.